Welcome to the TMZ podcast, everybody. I'm Jason. I'm here with Derek. We are going to be discussing the new events in the David case. It's pretty grisly, guys. There's no way around it. Obviously, we know that Celeste Rivas's body was hacked up. Prosecutors came forward, Derek, yesterday, and they laid out how they believe this happened, David's patterns in the days and weeks, I guess, before and immediately after her death. I mean, there's no way to make this any softer than it is, so let's just dive right into it.
Yeah, remember, there was a lot of speculation that they arrested, that law enforcement arrested David precipitously. Like, they weren't ready, and they weren't on the same page with prosecutors. You remember that speculation? Yeah. They swarmed his house, they bring him in, and part of the strategy that the defense was maybe thinking is, oh, let's hold their feet to the fire. Let's make them have a preliminary hearing where they don't have their ducks in a row and have to lay out their case, and we can poke holes in it, and you can see how weak it is.
And the reason they thought that, and we all sort of agreed, is because they took so long. They couldn't get it. Well, it appeared they couldn't get an indictment. They went to the grand jury. Maybe it was just investigated, but they couldn't get this indictment. Then they go forward and they sort of rush the process at the last minute, and now they have to go before the court and do a probable cause hearing. Right. And now we're seeing, I guess, to your point, David said, put forward your evidence if you have it, and they have.
And they have been working this case. What they have put forth is what I can only describe as a meticulous timeline of events and his relationship, David's relationship with Celeste Rivas over a period of years, meeting her when she was 11. They start a sexual relationship when she's around 13. They have that sexual relationship for a period of time. And then what they're laying out is that there was some sort of, she went missing, by the way. She went missing, remember, in February of 2024, I believe. And David was contacted by authorities because they went into her phone records and they saw David's number. So this is the first part of the timeline. They have this relationship. They contact David and say, hey, there's a missing person and your number's in her records. And he says, yes, I do know her. I did not know she was a minor and I didn't know she's missing. They then pay a visit to his home and he says, yeah, I mean, you know, I didn't know she was missing and I didn't know she's a minor. So that is his story. They show him yearbook photos of her in junior high school and so forth.
11 when they met. The idea he didn't know she was a minor, at least when they met.
Although apparently the sexual relationship began 2 years
a little bit later.
That. Yes, well, 13.
Yeah, geez.
So in any event, 2 days later, she goes home. Her parents then take away her cell phone. And this is when David allegedly went to her junior high school, paid a student $1,000 to give her a cell phone so that she could contact him again. And then their relationship sort of blossoms over the course of 2024. And they have a sexual relationship. It is verified to the prosecutors in text messages, explicit photographs and videos and so forth that they have found.
So let's jump forward. Let's get into the moments around the murder here, and then I really want to talk about what he ordered from Amazon immediately after the alleged killing.
Let's take it one step at a time, right? So around the events, they have this relationship, they break up. And then there is a continuation of some sort of relationship after the breakup in November of 2024. And in April of 2025, they have a very big fight. They have a very big fight that is laid out in text messages where she is accusing him of basically, she's jealous about his relationships with other women. Yeah. And she's like, I'm being led on. I want more out of this. And if you don't give it to me, they say she made a threat to David to destroy his career by divulging his relationship with her, a minor. This is on April 22nd. April 25th is when his first album in his career is set to take off. They say that David was threatened by this and on April 23rd sends an Uber to Lake Elsinore to bring her to his home in Los Angeles. A very long ride.
Yeah.
She arrives and they say he immediately killed her.
Yeah.
He stabbed her, watched her bleed out and so forth. And then we get into what you're talking about.
So we've got this, the prosecutors laid out these alleged purchases, this effort to cover up the crime. On April 24th, he orders a shovel off of Home Depot via Postmates, by the way.
Yes.
Odd way to get a shovel.
Got it delivered to him?
Yeah, got it delivered to him. A week later, he buys 2 chainsaws. So you can see, assuming this is all plotting to dismember and bury her in the desert somewhere, he orders the shovels, and prosecutors allege that at some point he realizes that the body's too big for him to bury.
Or he's trying to space these out and not have everything in your Amazon cart that shows you're trying to dispose of a body. You get chainsaws, body bag, shovel.
Why not put on a hat and mask and go into Home Depot yourself and buy something with cash?
It's possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
May 1st, he buys 2 chainsaws. May 5th, he purchases a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a blue inflatable pool.
This is body disposal
Yes.
stuff. So the chainsaw is obviously for dismemberment purposes,
Yes.
to take the body apart, the body bag to put the pieces in the laundry bags. The blue inflatable pool is really key here because in the autopsy report, you'll remember parts of the coroner said they found blue plastic fragments embedded within some of her body parts. They've now, they think, pieced this together with their forensic team to say he was using the chainsaw to dismember the body and making linear cuts to the inflatable pool that ended up embedded in some of the body parts. So they've tried to link this now together. He apparently ordered these things under an alias Victoria Mendez. That will be interesting, I'm sure, to prosecutors. Is this someone who works for David? Is this just a fake name? I don't know how that's going to fit into the case. On July 7th, he gets a burn cage, which is believed to be not something to destroy the body itself, but a smaller cage to maybe destroy documents like passports, licenses, things of that nature that could be identifying information. But right after he stabbed her, according to prosecutors that he killed her, he goes to Santa Barbara immediately after, and he's making phone calls to the phone of Celeste. They think to cover up and say, "Hey, where are you?" Does this several times, and knowing that she's dead, and goes and maybe discards of some of her personal identifying information because her passport card was found discarded in Santa Barbara later.
So look, I mean, this is the prosecutor's case. They have not these witnesses,
and it always looks strong.
No witnesses, no witnesses have been cross-examined. Remember what it was like in the Diddy case after they closed. We all sort of, and then you get to the counter evidence and you get to closing arguments and things change. He is represented by a very, very skilled and experienced defense attorney named Blair Burke.
One of the most talented
lawyers out there. He's going to put on a case and challenge every single one of these pieces of evidence. All they have to do, obviously, is establish in one juror's mind reasonable doubt as to one element of the crime here, murder in the first degree. And who knows? She may be able to do that. Honestly,
it looks pretty tight. I will say, as far as these cases, there is no eyewitness, but they have that he was the last person to drive his Tesla.
Yeah.
They have surveillance footage that they say is consistent with he stopped driving it in July, went on his tour, and that's the last person who drove it. The evidence of him going to and from Santa Barbara, him being the only person in the house. They're trying to narrow
ordering
the possibilities, ordering the items, although that's an alias, so who knows? They've sort of closed the walls in as much as they can. They don't have a murder. They don't have a murder weapon. They don't have a knife that the autopsy report showed that the smooth edges. Yeah. They do have chainsaws.
They collected these.
Well, they said that they ordered the chainsaws.
They ordered. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know, but they have the implements of dismembering a body, but that's a very different charge than murdering someone. The tox report in the autopsy report doesn't show many drugs, so I'm not sure if they're going to be able to go in the direction of died from an overdose or something like that.
One little point, and then we can get to some of your questions here. People talk about these things like circumstantial cases, right?
As if it's weak.
As if it's weak. There are two types of evidence. One is circumstantial, the other is direct eyewitness testimony.
Very few cases, contrary to what you see in movies and television, very few cases have eyewitnesses.
And not only that, it's very hard to cross-examine circumstantial evidence. It's very hard to cross-examine the fact that he ordered a chainsaw. Maybe he can, maybe he can't. Probably not. He's probably going to be saddled with the fact he ordered these chainsaws. You know who's easy to cross-examine? Eyewitnesses.
Absolutely.
Very easy. They crumble. Did they really see what they... Lawyers love having eyewitnesses they can take down. It's very hard.
Right.
We've been taught...
Some of them have biases that are easy to take apart, even if they're independent third-party witnesses. How good are their eyes? And so
we've been taught by shows like Law and Order, the defense attorney say, counsel, that's just a circumstantial case, as if that's a weaker case than a non-circumstantial, an eyewitness case. Actually, the strongest cases are circumstantial.
I think that's right. This is a big misconception in the public that circumstantial means weak. Most cases are built through circumstantial evidence, and they can be very, very strong.
All right, we have some questions.
Yes, someone is asking what the
Sorry, guys, hang on one second. Technical difficulties. There we go.
Oh, the incinerator. What is the incinerator for? So this is the burn cage, I think, is what they're referring to. My understanding of a burn cage is that it's a somewhat small sort of, device that you can
exactly
purchase.
what it sounds like. It's
yeah,
a place to
and
burn
it just
things.
burns things.
Yeah,
and it can
small.
burn small documents, maybe small body parts as well.
But that's why they don't. This is not something that's intended for the disposal of a body.
It would take a very long time.
For the cremation of. Well, you'd have to chop it up and put it in small bits. It's a small thing. It is for documents, right?
Yes. Now they didn't find. I do want to mention. So it is mostly for documents, but according to prosecutors, removed 2 fingers because one of her fingers had a tattoo of his name. And the allegation is that he wanted to distance himself and make sure that they didn't see that he had that tattooed. Maybe you can throw them in there. You can also go to Santa Barbara and feed those to animals and so forth. So I don't know. They don't have those fingers, the missing fingers on the body.
Right.
Someone else is asking why and how he thought he would get away with it.
Well, it's a good question, but nobody commits a crime thinking they're going to get caught. They do it, and then he tried in the aftermath of it to hide his tracks. I will say, assuming what prosecutors say about him is all correct, he seems like a really bad criminal, like a bumbling kind of criminal. I mean,
yeah, I don't think he's in his right mind. I think there's a desperation. The case they're laying out is that this fight caused him to fear that he'd lose his entire career before it even started. This is his first album coming out.
The allegations are he's been in a sexual relationship with a young girl since the time she was 13. He's 20. Right. It's just like you don't recover from that specific crime.
That's right. And you don't start your career with that. Right. It's one thing if you're massive and can it take you down? There's R. Kelly's and so forth. Yeah. It can do that as well, but you certainly don't launch into the stratosphere when you have that kind of baggage.
Yeah. Afro King asked, why did he not use the shovel and chainsaw?
This is a big question. So the body was obviously discovered in that Tesla decaying. There were flies around it. It was towed and impounded and so forth. It was in really bad shape. Yet there is evidence, according to prosecutors, of 2 trips in the aftermath of the murder to Santa Barbara. Yeah. And the wonder is, why didn't he try to dispose of the body? Maybe he did. Maybe he failed. Maybe he panicked. Maybe he couldn't find a spot. Maybe he did. We don't know. Yeah. And I don't think prosecutors know fully, but that is a big piece of the case is how bumbling to leave your car parked in a heavily populated area of Los Angeles with a rotting body.
Yeah. He did use the chainsaw, just to clarify. He did. Allegations are he did use the chainsaw to dismember the body. The shovel itself, obviously, he did not bury it. So
yeah, the body was discovered in the frunk of the Tesla. So how that came to be and why it wasn't disposed of, we don't know. That will be established as the case goes on.
All right, guys. All right. Thanks very much, everybody. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you guys. We have an episode this afternoon, right?